So basically, I had this idea for a book. There's this song from the Dire Straits, one of my favorite bands. It came out years ago, like before I started even writing. The song's called Industrial Disease, and there's a line in it that says, "Two men say they're Jesus, one of them must be wrong." And I always thought that was kind of an interesting line. And so I've always had percolating in the back of my head, two men say they're the Duke of something. One of them must be wrong, right? So so for a while I had this semi-proposal done, two men say they're, or just, it was called The Two Dukes of Something. We finally came up with Wyndham. And so then I started thinking, well, okay, how could two people both think they might be the Duke of something? Because generally, who is Duke is fairly well documented. And I was able to come up with how, and I just decided to write two books, instead of one book, but two books, one from each guy's point of view. Because, one of them doesn't have to be the bad guy. They can both be good guys. And so, as I started to explore this, I realized that what I really wanted to do was write stories for these two men that were taking place at the same time. And so both books share the same overall external plot, but they each have their own love story. So the first one to come out is called The Lost Duke of Wyndham, and that's about this guy, Jack, who is now a highwayman, who is recognized as probably part of this ducal family. The other hero is Thomas, who is the Duke of Wyndham. His book is Mr. Cavendish, I presume. Each of them is going through this thing, who's the real Duke? If Jack is the Duke, how's that going to change his life? If Thomas is not the Duke, how's that going to change his life? And in the meantime, Jack's falling in love with Grace, who is the companion to the Dowager Duchess, who's just an evil character. I mean, she's just unredeemable, and I don't redeem her. And Thomas has this fiancée he's been engaged to since they were infants. And wait a minute, what's happening if all of a sudden he's starting to fall in love with his fiancée, but if he's not the Duke, is she even his fiancée? So it was a fascinating writing process to me because I wrote them simultaneously, because I didn't want to write one and then have the other one be dependent on what I did on the first one. So it was really cool, and I'm very excited. Now that the first book's come out, I'm really excited to hear how readers like the second book and like them together.